starting into this football offseason, which is quarterback movement. We've had 2 number 1 overall picks, 2 traded for each other. Not an equal trade, not Jared Goff for Matt Stafford. Jared Goff and a bunch, right? Couple first-round picks for Matt Stafford. And both leave behind a trail of dead cap money. But you know what? I don't think I've heard anyone else say, and I wondered myself, why'd they give up on Jared Goff so quick? Like, it's reasonable to say, hey, I didn't think Jared Goff was as improved as much as I thought he would improve, or there were moments in which he didn't look great. And there was that weird San Francisco game where Sean McVay, who always takes the blame for everybody's poor play, said, hey, our quarterback needs to play better. And I do think, and we'll get to this in the show, Matt Stafford coming over is a great test for was it the quarterback or was it the team, right? Because if you ask people right now in Houston, they'll be like, look, the franchise sucks. That's why Deshaun Watson's like, okay, but their record is actually worse over the past 4 years with Deshaun Watson than it was the 4 previous years without Deshaun Watson. And I'm willing to concede that it's been an odd year for Houston, but on some level, the quarterback has to be accountable. As you want to talk about leadership, who's a bigger leader than the quarterback? This is a great litmus test for Matt Stafford, where the failings of the Lions, how much are related to Stafford? So I think these are all interesting questions. But let me provide you with some answers. Let me provide you with something that I don't believe anybody else in my position on any show has provided you with, which is, why has Jared Goff got to go? And the answer is, what do you think? What do you think? Keep in mind, the coach who he worked for in Sean McVay did not draft him. Okay, that's a big thing. Did not draft him. And the GM that he's going to did draft him. Okay? Never underestimate the importance of the rabbi in the room, the guy who believes in you. And when the director of college scouting for the Rams becomes the GM of the Detroit Lions and the quarterback gets traded from the Rams to the Detroit Lions, it stands to reason, at least on some level, even though I think we'd all conclude that the Lions are in complete rebuild mode. You want to know who in that facility who in that facility believed in Jared Goff enough to draft him? You have your answer. But you look at Jared Goff, and remember, he led a team to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They went to the playoffs this year. They would have gone to the playoffs last year if not for the fact that, the playoffs hadn't been expanded. And basically they were a missed field goal from Greg Zuerlein away from going last year. The numbers weren't great. I'm not going to argue with you on that. Right? In terms of his statistics, it wasn't an awesome year. And against Seattle late in the season, coming off of thumb surgery, he had 3 picks. Against the Jets in a loss, he had 3 picks. Just too many interceptions. But is that the reason he's gone? And the answer is a little bit. Part of it is Sean McVay is a Gruden guy, and Gruden falls in and out of love with people. But most of it in that he's a Gruden guy is he's an in at 4 or 5 in the morning, everyday sort of guy grinding. And what you heard from teammates when John Wolford was the starting quarterback was, we love this guy. And you didn't hear that when Jared Goff was the starting quarterback. Wolford outworked him, outprepared him, outcompeted him. Goff wasn't accountable. It has nothing to do with what McVay would say publicly, but privately, there wasn't a moment, which I'm told from various people inside that building, that he ever said, hey, guys, that loss is on me. Because that's what leadership is. He didn't take cues from McVay in the work ethic. He didn't take cues from McVay in terms of the accountability. And then he was too tentative. And football is a game where if, for example, you're going up to tackle a guy, if you're tentative, you get trucked. If you're the aggressor, he gets trucked. right? It's the same thing at quarterback. Here you have a coach who prides himself on his play designs and his ability to create explosive plays, and he just wouldn't let it go. He just wouldn't. He played not to lose instead of to win. But there was a lack of complete and total buy-in in terms of work. There was a lack of desire to take chances and a lack of accountability. Then you bring in Stafford, who was in an offense, in his best offense at times with Jim Bob Cooter, which is a terrible offense for this day and age in the NFL. And it was the old, if Matt Stafford can have that kind of success in a myriad of very average offensive play callers, what type of success can he have when there's motion, when you move the pocket, when you dial up explosive plays with his explosive arm, with his desire to be accountable, to take the shot? The Rams didn't just do it to get out of Goff. They did it to get into Stafford, but there's a reason behind it. They knew what kind of worker he was, and they knew what kind of worker Goff wasn't. And the last part is this. If you're going to make $100 million, and that's what Jared Goff is, and you're going to sign for over $100 million, you got to go above and beyond. Every loss is on you. Every practice is about your preparation. There's ownership of the team. The idea of the franchise player, is it does all depend upon you. The record does fall on you. Like, look, I've been critical of Deshaun Watson, and he's taken some of the blame at times, media-wise, for some of the losses, but at least he went in to see the owner to talk about the dysfunction. At least he's that type of leader. Now, I don't think leadership is, I'm out, but you haven't heard any sort of accountability from Goff. Goff is not a bad guy. Goff is not a dumb guy. Goff is not a bad quarterback. He just, while his arm has some limitations, he doesn't even explore those limitations. This was not one thing. It was a series of things, and it was from a guy in Sean McVay who has the wandering eye of his mentor, John Gruden, the work ethic of Gruden, and remember, he didn't draft him. All of those things, all of them, are why Jared Goff is no longer a member of the LA Rams. All right. So there you go. There's some insight for you as to why he had to go. Because it went bad in a hurry. And one of the reasons, I think Les Snead, who, I don't know if Les Snead's a great general manager, he found a gem in Sean McVay. And, obviously Aaron Donald's the best player in football. But Les Snead's public kind of shaming and scolding of Goff was a signal to the locker room. What do we always say on this show? You can't fool players. And when he said, he's on the team for now, they were in advanced trade talks. But it was also him sending out the bat signal to the rest of the team. We hear you, and we're making a move because he's not as accountable. He's not working as hard as he needs to be. But let it also be known, this is a lot like Todd Gurley. We don't care who you are or how much you're making. If you're not solely about winning, we don't want you in the locker room. The rest of the world thinks they overpaid. The Rams, they think they have a new lease on life.